This crying she-wolf unexpectedly approached the man, but then he realized that she was in big trouble. This story happened along the Coho Creek on southeastern Alaska's Cooper North Island. A man had gone out on his own to prospect for some gold when he came across something amazing. It had started out like any other day for the man. As he walked along the creek, he emerged from the forest only to freeze in his tracks. No more than 20 paces away from him in the nearby bog was a huge Alaskan timber wolf. But the man immediately noticed that the wolf was in trouble. One of its legs had gotten caught in an old trap that had been set by his recently deceased friend. He knew the wolf would die there if he was left in the trap. The man cautiously approached the wolf, who tried to back away. But that was when the man noticed something else. The wolf was a female, and her teats were full of milk. This meant that she had recently given birth and that somewhere nearby there was a den full of hungry cubs waiting for their mother. From the canine's appearance, the man guessed that she had been trapped for a few days. Knowing that the cubs would need to be fed soon if they were to survive and that he couldn't get the mother free to go get them, the man decided to search for the pups instead. He began to look for any tracks that might lead him back to the mother's den. Fortunately, there were still a few remaining patches of snow on the ground, and after several moments, the prospector spotted the paw marks on a trail skirting the bog. The tracks led him through the forest, then up a rock-strewn slope. Finally, after making his way up the slope, the man found the den at the base of a huge spruce tree. 4 tiny wolf cubs began to cautiously emerge from the den. The man looked them over and guessed that they couldn't have been more than a few weeks old. One by one, he placed them in a burlap bag and headed back down the slope. When he entered into the clearing where the mother wolf was, she immediately spotted the man and stood erect, possibly picking up on the scent of her young. She let out a high-pitched whine as if she knew what was in the sack and wanted to be reunited with her babies. As the man released the cubs, they all raced over to their mother and began to drink the milk from her teats. The man watched them, happy that he could reunite the family. With the mother wolf distracted feeding her young, the prospector tried to move closer to them. But the female canine's eyes immediately snapped back to him, and she began to growl threateningly. The man was at a loss as to what he could do next to help the trapped animal. With her young to protect, she became belligerent and would bare her teeth whenever the man tried to creep towards her. The prospector thought over his options and came to the conclusion that, just like her babies, the mother wolf was probably hungry. If she had been trapped, she wouldn't have been able to go hunting for food. The man decided that he would have to find her something to eat, not only to help her, but in the hopes that she would start to trust him as well. He hiked towards the creek and spotted the leg of a dead deer sticking out of a snowbank. He cut off a hind quarter and made his way back to the wolf. The animal's attention was clearly on the man as he entered the clearing again, as if she knew that he had something for her. The man cut the meat up and tossed chunks of venison in the wolf's direction. She sniffed them, then gobbled them up. Once all of the food was gone, the man fashioned a rough shelter for himself and soon fell asleep. At dawn, he was awakened by 4 fluffy bundles of fur sniffing at his face and hands. He glanced towards the agitated mother wolf and started to come up with a plan on how to help her. If he could win the animal's trust, then he would eventually be able to set her free. Over the next few days, the prospector divided his time between prospecting and winning the wolf's trust. He talked gently with her, threw her more venison, and played with the pups. Little by little, he kept edging closer to the adult wolf, although he was careful to remain beyond the length of the chain. The big animal never took her dark eyes off of him, but as the days went by, she seemed to get more and more calm in his presence. At dusk on the 5th day, the man delivered the mama wolf's daily meal of venison, when all of a sudden the cubs bounded over to him. Even though the man had won the trust of the young wolves, he was beginning to lose hope of ever being able to help the mother canine. Then suddenly, the man thought he saw a slight wagging of her tail. Deciding to take a risk, he moved within the length of her chain. The wolf remained motionless. After getting within 8 feet, 2.4 meters of her, the man cautiously sat down. He was so close that one snap of her huge jaws could break his arm or neck. Determined to help though, the man wrapped his blanket around himself and slowly settled onto the cold ground. It was a long time before he fell asleep, but eventually unconsciousness took him. The prospector awoke at dawn. stirred by the sound of pups nursing. Gently, he leaned over and pet them, which caused the mother wolf to stiffen. However, she didn't do anything else. Taking this as a good sign, the man gently put his hand on the animal's injured leg. Now that he was closer, he could see that the trap had only caught 2 of the wolf's toes, meaning that she should be fine if he could get it open. The man quickly found the release spring and opened the trap. As soon as the mother wolf was free, she jumped away from the trap and began to lope around, getting used to being able to move again. Once free, the mother wolf cautiously approached the man and sniffed him. She gave him a single lick and then turned around and began to limp off into the woods with her cubs. Before disappearing completely, she turned back around to the prospector, as if asking him to follow her. The man complied and slowly trailed behind the small family. For a few miles, they ascended Kupernoff Mountain until they reached an alpine meadow. There, lurking in the forested perimeter, was a wolf pack. The man counted 9 adults and, judging by their playful antics, 4 nearly fully grown pups. After a few minutes of greeting, the pack broke into howling. It was an eerie sound, ranging from low wails to high-pitched yodeling. That night, the man set up his camp on the edge of the meadow. As he sat by his fire, he could see numerous wolf shapes dodging in and out of the shadows. However, he was not afraid, as he knew that the animals were only curious of him. The next day, the man knew that it was time for him to leave. He packed up his campsite, and all the while, the mother wolf watched as he did so. As the man reached the far side of the meadow, he looked back to see the mother wolf and her pups were sitting where he had left them, watching him. The mother wolf then let out a long, mournful howl before disappearing into the woods with her pack. 4 years later, the man returned to the creek. It was the fall of 1945, and after the horrors of the war, it was good to be back among the soaring spruce and breathing the familiar, bracing air of the Alaskan bush. Whilst walking along the creek, the man came across the very same trap that he had once freed the mother wolf from. It sat exactly where he had left it all those years ago. The sight of it gave the prospector a strange feeling, and something made him want to climb Kupernoff Mountain to the meadow where he had last seen the wolf and her cubs. Once at the meadow, the man gave out a long, low wolf call. Amazingly, an echo came back across the distance. Then, far off, he saw a dark shape moving slowly in his direction. As it crossed the meadow, he could see it was a timber wolf, and he knew at once that familiar shape, even after 4 years. The wolf edged closer, ears erect, body tense, and stopped a few yards off. Her bushy tail started wagging slightly, and then moments later, as if she had never been there, the wolf was gone. The man smiled at the amazing thing that had just happened before turning and leaving the meadow. The man never saw the animal again, but the memory she left stayed with him forever. Let me know what you thought of this story in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing content.